Hello and welcome back. Right, so decided that to start in my depot. So the first project or the first thing that I need to do is to start with the refueling road or the delivery road for the depot fuel. So what I've got is I've got the evergreen styrene sheet. It's 4505 tiles. So these will be painted into sort of like concrete colour. So first thing I'm going to do is cut for that and just sink that down a little bit. So that's the first thing I'm going to do. So I'm going to mark it. And then take that off and cut it out. Okay, so I've cut that out and that's now sunk in just a little bit, just to hide the base. Also, because they're going to be the running lines, even though it's a depot, I'm going to put like a wall round, perhaps a little bit lower than that, but just to sort of, and then that's going to step in and like that, and then go to the end. This extra bit here is for the other tank, for taking away waste oil and other bits and pieces, but because of the way the track runs, that needs to step down. So the next job is just to cut that off, level through there, and then that'll be that bit in. Okay, so that's the other tank that I'm going to use for my waste oil. It originally come from Grimy Times. I think I picked it up at the one of the exhibitions probably, I don't know, 3 or 4 years ago. It's quite expensive, but it's quite nice. I have actually sort of manoeuvred it around a bit, so it's not exactly how it come out of the box. But I wanted it to suit that application and not not how it was. So I've moved it around a bit. I'm also going to spray it black because I don't particularly like the colour of it. So I'm just off to sort of put some black spray on it now. But I think it'll sit in there quite nicely as the waste oil tank. So there's the two of them on their bases. So yeah, I'm just going to spray that black and we'll see what it looks like after that. Okay, I think I've got the general spacing now that I need. So I've got me basing for the trains to come in and run on, plus cut round for the tanks, and the waste tanks also sitting up there. So that's about the size I'm going to go over. So next thing I need to do is glue all the base down. So that's what I'm going to do next. So I'm just going to quickly mark around it, so as I know roughly where to put it back. Otherwise, when I move it, I know what will happen. It won't go back. Right, I'm just going to use PVA to stick this down. Okay, well, appropriately weighed down, so I should give that a few hours now to go off, and come back and see what it looks like later on. Hi, well, you joined me 24 hours later. So now the glue's set off for my my concrete base for the replenishing point. So what I'm going to do now is I'm starting to put the rails down. So in order to get what I want, each one of these pandrol clips is separately applied, and each sleeper is separately applied. So what I've done is I've laid my evergreen sheet down. I'm also then using a separate strip to actually give it the slightly raised bed, and this is what the rails, or this is what the pandrol clips will actually sit on, and that is 109. If you can see that, But yeah, this is pack 109, which is basically so used for that strip in there. So each one, as I said, each one of these are individually priced. So what I'm going to do is I'm not going to bore you to death with every single one, but I'm just going to sort of go through and sort of show you a little bit about what goes into sort of like making it up. So all we need to do is cut these off of here. These Pandrol clips are made by Pico, and that's them, and they're designed to fit in the Code 82 flat bottom rail, so they're designed for that. These are still available, so they are easily available. I bought some on eBay today actually. What I tend to do when I come to slide it on is I just tend to put like a little tiny V on the end of the rail. Just makes it a little bit easier to actually slide them on. I don't know if that shows up or not, but that's what I've got, just a V on the end of that flat bottom. And then it's just a case of getting them and sliding them down. Okay, so the next bit is to actually get the other rail in place, which is one of my more favourite bits. So for this I use my P4 track gauges, because without them you'd never be able to get it in the gauge. So here we go. A long time since these have been out of the box. They go on there. Clip on like that, tighten them up. Go right to the end with that one. Set another one up down here just so as it don't go too awry. The more care and attention you put into getting this bit right, the less trouble you'll have later, because if this is wrong, then it's all wrong. So it's worth spending a bit of extra time making sure this is right, and not once you come to start using it going, oh dear, I wish I'd have done that, as I've done in the past. Rushing it is definitely doesn't pay dividends. So we haven't gone out to loads of shows. One of the areas that can give trouble with a portable layout is the rail ends between the baseball joints. On some of my layouts, it's just literally I've used the cork right to the end, and whilst it works, it's very sort of you put it together at a show, and you find that the cork can move. Being it's wood and everything, it's all sort of does tend to move. So various different bits and pieces. So what I've done is I've had some oak strip milled up to sort of bring some extra strength to the ends, if you like. And one of my other guys was telling me about what he'd done was he'd actually drilled into it and put 2 screws in. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to drill. I put the copper clad sleeper down, so I'm going to use that. I'm going to drill in, and I'm going to actually insert a little like pin nail, glue that in position, and then the rail will actually solder to that. And then once that's done, that should hopefully give me the strength I need, because you say the rail ends can sometimes become damaged. Also, the other thing you must remember to do with copper clad sleeper is actually remove the copper, otherwise you end up with dead short, and when it's all painted and finished you're going, oh, what's gone wrong here? So here goes. What I think I might need to do is just put that one in and then see where the other side's going to sit, because these have got to be fairly accurate. So I just don't want to get into drilling holes and then finding out that I'm sort of half a mil out. So I'm going to do one side and then I'll come back to it with the other side. This is a pin I'm going to use. It's just a basic sort of like wood pin or nail pin, with my trusty gauge here to work out what size. So I've worked out that the head of it was as close to that one as possible. That's a little bit too small, so but it was alright with the next one. So I found the drill that goes through there quite tight, so that's the one I'm going to use. I know I could use all sorts of different instruments for testing sizes, but I thought this was pretty good because it sort of just allows you that little bit extra. So yeah, handy tool to have. And just broke it. I was able to recover it by just a bit of super glue and holding it with a pair of pliers, so that's in. So we'll have to see how accurate it is. It doesn't look too bad, so I'm going to get this piece of rail in and we'll come back and have a look and see exactly what that does look like. Another thing that you don't really want to forget to do is to solder the wires on, otherwise you get to the point where I try to solder all my wires on wherever possible from underneath. I know I haven't with this rail, but I'm going to do that under the buffers. But certainly for these bits I'm going to go and do that. So next thing is to tin up the wire and then attach it to the rail without melting everything. This is where you could do with more than 2 hands. So that's that tinned up. Take it over to the rail. As simple as that. Now to work out where that's going to go through the baseboard. Cut it off to an appropriate length. It's going to go through the baseboard just beside that sleeper, somewhere there. At least it keeps it nice and hidden. So I've used my 2 gauges now to set my gauge to where I need this other hole to be drilled. So that's the way it's going. That lines up nicely with the next point. So I just need to mark this now so as I know I can get the right place. Right, that can come out. Hopefully now, between them 2 lines, should be where we need to drill. That one was a bit more successful. The reason why the other one broke was because the super glue wasn't all the way underneath it. So that should just tap in now quite nicely now. Somewhere like that. should be not too bad. Hi, so here's a bit of a layout update then. I put some considerable effort in over the last 3 days to try and progress this end a little bit. This is the depot end that's kind of suffered for one reason or another. So my points arrived, so I was able to sort of get on down this end. It doesn't look like a particular lot, but there's been an awful lot of work. And what I've tried to do, I've recorded myself doing a fair bit of this work, but I sort of would like people to see what sort of goes on in order to create stuff, but equally I want it to be watchable and not something where it'd be more fun watching paint dry. So when I get to the editing bit of this, I'm going to have to sort of look and see what works and what don't work. I don't know how much of it is actually going to come out, but it won't be long and boring. But as I say, equally I'd like to sort of share with you some of what I've been through. It's about what's in front of you now, or what's here now. It's about 4 days work, so it's quite a bit. But I have taken my time, and I have got it sort of hopefully how I want it. So I'm just going to sort of like take you off here and go for a little aerial tour. So I've got my 1980 drone out. It's a little bit bumpy, but they were back then. So starting from this end, what we got is this is the track that is for the fuel replenishment. So we start off where the sleepers are, so there's going to be a set of buffers going in there. Then it goes on to the hard stand, and that's all made up of separate bits and pieces. They are the 2 tanks. They are the standard Bachmann fuel tanks. I mean, I would assume that a depot of this nature would be them full. It would last a depot forever, but obviously a bit more modeller's license there. The black tank, that came from Grime Times. It was grey when I originally got it, but I've repainted it. And that's to take the waste oil. So any waste oil or waste nasty products in the depot, that will be pumped here. And then you'll have a separate train or wagon come in and take them from here out. So that gives you a bit more interest. So as you can have like you can have TEAs or TTAs in doing the replenishment, and then you can. I've got some couple of single vac tanks that we used for specifically taking out waste oil. So that's what that tank's for. The footbridge or the gantry there, that's from Tichy Trains in America, so that's just a little bit of it I've cut off to fit in there. There was a platform on there, but there was no handrail around it, and I figured sort of like 1980s you'd still have a little bit of health and safety, so I've added that myself. Steps are still what come as a standard thing with a model. Moving down, so we're just on the track right now. That's all been done. Again, I'll try and sort of share with you some of the what was done with that. These are the baseball joints, so you won't see them. They won't look like that when it's finished, but that's to make sure that hopefully the rail ends don't move. That goes through the point work. That then comes along. That's still setting, so that's still sort of setting. I'm going to have to leave that now, so as it don't move, hopefully. It stays engaged, and then rolling along, that just goes along and finishes up down that end. It will go right to the very end when I get there, but for now that's far enough. Now that's the one I said was going to have the sort of the photo booth on it, if you like, or the photo section on it in front of the depot. The depot I haven't really made a lot of inroads into. You can see the base there, or the concrete base there, that will be extended out a little bit further, and I still haven't made my mind up yet what I want to do with those fueling points, but they'll be there somewhere like that. And yeah, that's about as far as I've got, but that's a weekend's work there. But at least I'm pleased with that, because it's a little bit more done. And this bit here is like the business end of the layout, if you like. So when you sort of like one of the focal points from coming up, because you've got a station over the back, and all this going on at the front, so it's a bit more interesting than the other end. So I wanted to take my time and make sure that this end was completely right and how I wanted it. I'm pleased with that. That's looking good. Obviously the base I will that will be sprayed into concrete colours, etc. As and when I get around to it, what I'll do is I'll do that as a separate project. But yeah, that's it so far. yeah, it's been fun. It's been hot down here as well, but I'm sure not as hot as some people's lofts. So yeah, and that's where I'm up to now. So yeah, I'm pleased with myself. I actually got on with it. Thank you.